Goodwill, time for some stories to start your morning. On Saturday, Ben Simmons had to leave early in the first quarter with a back injury. According to Adrian Wojnarowski, there is concern surrounding the nature of the injury. The team won't comment further until they know more. That could happen today when Ben Simmons reportedly will undergo an MRI on his back. Vinny, how much trouble is Philly in if this is indeed serious?
Not as much trouble as they'll be in once he comes back and they still have this identity crisis.
Wow. Hold on, is that the really? Do you think they're better without him?
No. I'm saying that because Simmons and Embiid play such different styles that the team is not deciding on which way they want to go. There's an identity crisis there. That's all I'm saying.
That I totally agree with you on. Unfortunately for Philly, I think their season goes about the same way whether he's back or not. This screams at you they're a second-round exit ceiling at this point this year, especially if they stay in that 4-5 area where they'd have to play Milwaukee in round 2, with or without Ben Simmons. Now, it does give you maybe an opportunity, if it is serious, let's say he has to miss a month, to get an idea of what the team would look like without him. If you are considering a major overhaul this summer that includes changing the coach and maybe trading one of these two young process core pieces. But because I don't think they're a real contender anyway, I don't think it's that big of a deal in either direction.
All right, moving on to Zion Williamson, who had another great game last night. 28 points on 13 for 20 from the field to help the Pelicans take down the Golden State Warriors. The rookie is averaging 23 points and 7 rebounds through 12 games. Nick, how impressive was Zion yesterday?
It's pretty standard Zion fare. I mean, you cannot stop him from getting to his spots. And the narrative going into it was, well, here's what he doesn't do well. And by the way, there's a bunch of things on the court he doesn't do well. But if you do a few things so well no one can stop you, well, then just keep doing those things and you'll work on the other things as time comes. He's exactly what I thought he was going to be, which is he's already one of the 25 best players in basketball. And by the way, Pell's only 3.5 back of that last playoff spot. They were 6.5 back not long ago, but they've won 2 in a row. The Grizz have lost 2 in a row. So that's very interesting. With Ja leading rookie of the year, Zion's team trying to catch him. But Zion, listen, I'm out of hyperbole for Zion Williamson because none of it's hyperbole.
Well, 7-5 since he's been playing games, and they're 8-5 since he's returned the one game that he missed that they won.
And probably 2 games they could have won if he wasn't on a minutes restriction early.
Right. Well, so here's my thing with Zion. He's one of those things Eric Mangini calls a force multiplier. Like, I don't know that their roster is that great, but clearly his mere presence makes things so much easier for the other guys on the team, the Ingrams, the Holidays, the J.J. Redicks. Like, just the mere presence of him being out there, the fact that you have to account for him, the fact that he's doing this under 30 minutes a game.
Don't you think, Vinny, he's got almost like a reverse gravity? Remember we talked about Steph Curry's gravity? If he's 35 feet from the basket, you have someone away from it. He almost draws extra people into the basket because they're so afraid of him, which creates different type of shooting opportunities for his team.
No, he's something that you can't account for in today's game because he's the exact opposite of what we were told today's game is supposed to be. But his athleticism and his smarts, like he's really smart and really crafty around the rim.
So much
like he hasn't even put on his grown man strength yet. He's still a teenager.
He's so much fun.
All right, moving on to the Lakers and the Celtics from yesterday. LeBron James hit a clutch jumper in the closing seconds to help LA get the win. Just part of a great all-around game from the King. Finished 29-8-9. After the game, LeBron went to the gram to post, quote, "Absolutely live for these moments." Nick, can LeBron James continue to be the closer for the Lakers?
Oh, of course. Of course. Yeah, I mean, listen, the guy, if at this point you don't believe LeBron's a closer or, you know, one of, if not the best closer ever, then you're just never going to believe it. I mean, we saw the guy, Vinny, you saw it against your beloved Detroit Pistons when he was 22 years old. Beloved. I'll just give you a hard time because you're from Detroit. When he was 22 years old, the 48 special, score 25 straight to beat a team that had been the crowning team of the conference. We saw him, that was in 2007, right? We saw him in 2018, 11 years later, hit 2 game winners, buzzer beaters, in the same playoff run. And by the way, one series against the 1 seed of the conference, the other series in a 7-game war where they needed every single bucket in all those wins. And if people still, I remember when he hit the second game winner of that playoff run, the question was, has LeBron James finally proved he's clutch? It's like, okay. I mean, he just, yeah, another piece of evidence. He's hit more of these shots than anyone ever. He's hit more of these shots in the playoffs than anyone ever. He's the greatest Game 7 playoff performer this side of Bill Russell ever, statistically. We saw him hit a jumper to win a Game 7 of the NBA Finals. We saw him hit a free throw to clinch a Game 7 of an NBA Finals. And we saw him put together the greatest 3-game stretch in basketball history, all in elimination games against the greatest regular season team in NBA history. So, yeah, is he the closer for the Lakers? He'd be the closer on any team at any era. So, yes, of course, he can be the closer for the Lakers. Doesn't always mean he's the closer by shooting it. Sometimes he passes it like he did to George Hill, Game 1 of the NBA Finals a couple years ago. That didn't end great when he missed the free throw. But, yeah, of course he's the closer. Of course.
There's a lot of variance in LeBron being this great closer in the way that there aren't for the other quote-unquote great closers in basketball. You talked about that George Hill play. You don't put that play in someone else's hands. With the game that he was having at that point in Game 1 of the NBA Finals.
You don't get a guy a layup?
No, you don't.
Okay.
No, you don't.
Okay.
You have 6'3" on you. You bully him, and you do exactly what he had been doing to that point, which I thought almost was LeBron's greatest game that he had ever played.
Might be.
You don't put it in someone else's hands. I'm not going to quibble with you because I feel like that's splitting hairs, and that almost comes across as being a hater, which I'm not. But I will say that can he be that level of closer at this stage of his career and carry them 3 months to a championship? I would not want to bet on that because the wear and tear on his body and the responsibilities that he's going to have. When you're going to have to guard guys for 2 halves, 30-plus minutes a game, you're going to guard Paul George, guarding Kawhi Leonard, and then have to close at the end of games. To me, I feel like that is too much to put on a guy. Not saying LeBron James can't handle it, but 17 years, 35 years old.
Isn't he doing that now?
But it's a difference in doing it in the regular season compared to doing it in the playoffs, where 82 games are 1-game exhibitions, essentially. 7-game playoff series where the margins are a whole lot more thin, and you cannot have that variance
then there
anymore.
are no closers. If he can't do it, then no one can do it.
I didn't say he couldn't do it. I'm saying, do you want LeBron having to have all of that responsibility and then close late in games?
I guess in theory, then no one should have all the responsibility. Like, who are these guys where there's not the variance? So Kevin Durant, we obviously don't hold the injury against him. But I'm old enough to remember his second to last year in Golden State, the 2 games in the playoffs against Houston, where he was nowhere to be found on the final possession, took criticism for it. I'm also old enough to remember with KD the beginning of the series against the Clippers last year before he went on that amazing run. KD is a great closer. He's hit 2 jump shots to win finals games, both over LeBron. But he had weak moments, right? Giannis has not had these great closing moments in the postseason. Steph has had a lot more bad ones than good ones. Harden has had a lot more bad ones than good ones. Kawhi, your best player in the league last year, closed the NBA Finals. Closed the final 2 games, one of which they lost, one in which they escaped, going 16 of 40 from the field and 3 of 12 from 3. His 2 worst games of the finals were games 5 and 6. So who is the best closer?
Wait. Did he just mention Kawhi Leonard and talk about closing and not mention the series clinching shot from the corner?
I wasn't mentioning for any of the guys.
Once again, great accurate but not complete.
No, he did. In round 2, he hit the game winner in Game 7.
And here's what I'm saying. If we're talking about LeBron being the greatest closer ever, one of the greatest closers ever, here's what I will say when the air is thin. When you're saying that he's the greatest player ever, greatest closer ever, here's a counter about me saying that you don't want him to have all of this extra weight on him because of the advanced years and because of his body. Magic Johnson, great closer. Didn't have to worry about defending anybody, really, because of the team around him. Michael Jordan, greatest closer ever, greatest player ever. Later years, he had Scottie Pippen as someone who could guard the Reggie Millers, the Penny Hardaways.
Later years, all years.
Sure. No, Michael was guarding Clyde Drexler. Michael was guarding his position. Don't do that. Scottie wasn't ready.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is Michael in later years had someone at a comparable position who could take on a load to where he only had to do it the last 6 minutes
just
of the
real
game.
quick.
If you're asking LeBron to do this for 35 minutes a night, 3 or 4 playoff rounds, you're asking for him to run out of gas.
It's going to be 42 minutes a night, and he's never run out of gas before. But I'm just curious.
He never ran out of gas before?
No.
Okay.
He had no. Listen, to be fair, he had the 2011 finals, and if you think that was exhaustion, I'll take it. I'd love to.
No, that was just choking.
Yes, correct. But I'm just curious. Instead of history, because I shouldn't have brought that up, the history comment. Who's the best closer in the NBA today? Today.
Right now?
Right now.
The guy who led his team last June. Not the guy who didn't make the playoffs last year.
So say it. I want you to just say it on television. Who is the best closer in the NBA today? We have the date of the show right there. It's February 24th, 2020.
Bring the camera here. Bring the camera here.
Yeah.
Bring the camera here. Kawhi Leonard is the best closer in basketball.
Okay.
Today is February 24th, 2020. Kawhi Leonard led his team past the Golden State Warriors in the previous NBA Finals. Kawhi Leonard, since he started playing basketball, since Kawhi Leonard has become an elite player, has won 2 championship rings and 2 NBA Finals MVPs to LeBron James's 1. So if we're going to talk about who's done it more recently, more better, you can honestly make the case that Kawhi Leonard is better at closing than LeBron.
Okay, I'm glad you made that case. That is thrilling. And I cannot wait.
No further questions. No further questions, Your Honor.
I cannot wait.
His case.
Thank you.
Coming up, Big
You're
Ben
the defendant on the stand who just
took a
confessed.
big step towards getting back on